September 12, 1942. Leningrad. 5:17 a.m. The shelling begins before the sun rises. Glass trembles in frozen window frames. A distant boom rolls across the Neva River, followed by another. Snow drifts down from ceilings already cracked by months of bombardment. In a cellar beneath a shattered apartment block on Nevsky Prospect, a young girl named Anya Petrova opens her eyes to the sound of artillery and the hollow ache in her stomach. It has been aching for months. Her mother is already awake, wrapping a scarf around her head. There is no breakfast waiting. There hasn't been for a long time. On the table lies a ration card, thin as paper, powerful as life itself. Today's allotment, 125 grams of bread. Not real bread. A gray, sour slab stretched with sawdust and cellulose. Outside, the temperature is already below freezing. It is only September. Winter is coming again. The city has been encircled by the Wehrmacht for over a year. Field Marshal Wilhelm von Lieb's Army Group North sealed Leningrad in September 1941. Since then, nearly 3 million civilians have been trapped inside a tightening ring of steel and hunger. You can almost hear it, not just the guns, but the silence between them. The silence of empty markets, of factories without fuel, of kitchens without food. Anya's mother breaks the bread in half. It does not crumble. It resists, rubbery and damp. Anya chews slowly, forcing herself to swallow. The taste is bitter. Her mother says nothing. Words cost energy. Another explosion, closer this time. Across the city, Red Army soldiers huddle in trenches along the outskirts. The 42nd Army clings to defensive positions, boots frozen to mud that has turned to stone. Lieutenant Sergei Mikhailovich Orlov presses a cigarette between cracked lips and watches the gray horizon. The Germans are close enough to hear when the wind shifts. He hasn't eaten real meat in weeks. The men joke about it sometimes, about feasts they will have when the siege breaks, thick stews, black bread, sausages. They laugh, but their voices are thin. And then, rumors begin to circulate. Whispers carried through command posts and supply depots. Convoys, foreign shipments, supplies crossing oceans. America. The word feels distant, unreal. Somewhere beyond the Baltic blockade and the frozen north, ships are moving. Far to the east, along the Arctic route to Murmansk and Archangel, Liberty ships plow through black water under constant threat of U-boats. German submarines from Admiral Karl Donitz's wolf packs stalk the convoys. Luftwaffe bombers sweep down from occupied Norway. Yet still they come. In Washington, President Franklin D. Roosevelt has signed the Lend Lease Act into law. Aid to the Soviet Union begins in 1941, after Hitler launches Operation Barbarossa. Tanks, trucks, aviation fuel, and food. So much food. But in Leningrad, no one has seen it yet. The siege tightens. Winter descends. Temperatures plunge below -30 degrees Celsius. Bodies appear on sidewalks at dawn. Neighbors who simply stopped walking the night before.
November 19th, 1942. Stalingrad. 6:42 a.m. The Volga is choking with ice. Smoke hangs low over the shattered skeletons of factories, Red October, Barragide, Tractor Factory. Every wall is scorched, every window gone. The air smells of cordite, burned oil, and unburied dead. Private Ivan Karpov of the 62nd Army presses his back against a crumbling brick wall and listens. Across the courtyard, a German MG-42 chatters, its mechanical rhythm slicing through the morning. The sound is relentless, short bursts, precise, deadly. Somewhere behind it, soldiers of General Friedrich Paulus's Sixth Army wait in the rubble. Stalingrad is no longer a city. It is a battlefield measured in stairwells and sewer tunnels. You can almost feel the grit between your teeth. Karpov hasn't eaten properly in days. His greatcoat hangs loose over shoulders that were once broad. The men share everything: cigarettes, ammunition, stories of home. But food? There isn't enough to share. The supply line across the Volga is fragile. German artillery zeroes in on ferries. Luftwaffe Stukas scream down in steep dives, dropping bombs into the river itself. Still, at night, boats cross, and inside of them, wooden crates. In a command post carved into the basement of a bombed-out department store, Lieutenant General Vasily Chukov studies a map by lantern light. He commands the 62nd Army. His strategy is brutal and simple. Hug the enemy so close that German artillery cannot safely fire. But even the fiercest strategy cannot defeat hunger. A political officer enters with a clipboard and a small metal tin in his hands. "From the Americans," he says quietly. Chukov raises an eyebrow. "Food?" "Yes, Comrade General." The tin is opened. Inside, pink meat, packed tightly in gelatin. Spam. The smell is salty, fatty, shockingly rich compared to thin cabbage soup and black bread stretched beyond recognition. Chukov nods once. "Issue it to the forward companies, small portions." In the ruins near the Volga embankment, Karpov's squad receives a ration. The tin is passed from hand to hand. They study it like archaeologists examining an artifact. The English letters mean nothing to most of them. "Amerikansky," someone mutters. Karpov digs his bayonet into the meat and pries out a piece. It glistens in the gray winter light. He expects it to taste strange, foreign. Instead, it tastes like meat. Real meat. Salted, dense, heavy on his tongue. He chews slowly, almost reverently. Across the rubble, a German sniper watches through a scope. He sees only silhouettes. He cannot know what they are eating. He cannot know that thousands of kilometers away, factories in Chicago and Kansas are producing food destined for this shattered city. But he will soon feel its effects. Because food is not just survival, it is stamina. It is strength to hold one more floor of a factory, to counterattack one more time at dusk. And as Soviet forces launch Operation Uranus that same morning, encircling the German Sixth Army, those extra calories matter. Snow begins to fall. German units on the flanks, Romanian Third and Fourth Armies, buckle under the assault of Soviet armor. T-34 tanks surge forward, engines roaring in the cold air. The encirclement tightens. Inside Stalingrad, Paulus requests permission to break out. Adolf Hitler refuses. The hunters have become the hunted. Back in a cellar near the tractor factory, Karpov shares another surprise from a crate. Powdered eggs, mixed with melted snow over a small fire, they become something almost resembling an omelet. The men stare at it. One laughs, a dry, incredulous sound. "Eggs," he says, "in Stalingrad."
December 22nd, 1942. Barents Sea. 2:11 a.m. The sky is black. Not dark, black. The kind of polar night that erases the horizon completely. Snow lashes sideways across the deck of the Liberty ship SS John Witherspoon.
Ice forms on railings faster than sailors can chip it away. Every breath burns. Below deck, in the cargo hold, wooden crates shift with the swell. Inside them, canned meat, powdered milk, wheat flour, medical kits, chocolate. Seaman First Class Thomas Gallagher grips a frozen rope and squints into the wind. Somewhere beyond the curtain of snow, other ships of convoy JW-51B move in formation. Tankers, freighters, escorts. And somewhere beyond them, hunting. Admiral Karl Dönitz has deployed U-boats to intercept Arctic convoys bound for Murmansk. Luftwaffe bombers from occupied Norway prowl the skies when weather allows. Even the German battlecruiser Lützow waits in northern waters. These ships are not glamorous. They are slow, boxy, vulnerable. But they carry something more dangerous than bombs. They carry sustenance. On the bridge, Captain Harold Stevens studies radar blips through numb fingers. The temperature has dropped below -20 degrees Celsius. Ice coats the guns of the escorting British destroyer HMS Onslow. "Contact!" a voice calls out. Moments later, flares ignite the sky. German destroyers emerge like ghosts through snow squalls, guns flashing. Shells crash into the sea around the convoy. Metal screams as one freighter takes a direct hit. Gallagher hits the deck as splinters rain down. The Arctic night explodes with light and thunder. You can almost feel the deck shudder beneath your boots. This is not just a battle for territory. It is a battle for calories, for survival measured in ounces of protein and grams of sugar. Because in Leningrad and Stalingrad, those crates are already changing things. Back in the Barents Sea, HMS Onslow charges toward the German ships, firing broadside after broadside. Snow blinds gunners, radar flickers, confusion reigns. Yet the convoy holds. After hours of chaos, the German force withdraws. Behind them, burning oil slicks spread across freezing water. Several ships are lost. Sailors drown in temperatures that kill within minutes. Others cling to debris, breath crystallizing in the air. Gallagher helps haul a survivor aboard, a British signalman barely conscious, skin pale blue. "Worth it?" someone mutters through chattering teeth. Gallagher doesn't answer. He thinks of the cargo below. He thinks of cities he has never seen, names difficult to pronounce. Leningrad, Stalingrad. He does not know Anya Petrova. He does not know Private Ivan Karpov. But he knows this. If the crates sink, someone far away will go hungry. Weeks later, in Murmansk's battered harbor, dock workers unload the surviving ships. Cranes creak. Ice cracks under boots. Soviet officers oversee distribution with clipped efficiency. Rail cars are loaded. Southward, eastward, toward the front. In a field kitchen outside Stalingrad, Sergeant Nikolai Voronin supervises the opening of fresh supplies. The German Sixth Army is now fully encircled. Luftwaffe airlifts are failing. Starvation grips Paulus's men. Voronin opens a sack of American flour. It pours out in a clean white stream. He runs it between his fingers, almost amazed at its purity. Nearby, soldiers queue with metal mess tins. The kitchen serves something unimaginable months earlier: thickened soup with chunks of meat, real bread baked from imported grain, and for some, a small square of chocolate. The men eat quickly, eyes scanning the gray skyline for snipers. Energy returns. A wounded corporal who had been too weak to stand rises slowly and shoulders his rifle. Across the frozen city, German soldiers boil leather straps and chew frozen horse bones. Inside the basement of the Uniform department store, Field Marshal Friedrich Paulus reads the latest situation report.
February 2nd, 1943. Stalingrad, 3:36 p.m. The shooting has stopped. Snow drifts through shattered roofs and settles on twisted steel beams. In the basement of the Uniform department store, Field Marshal Friedrich Paulus sits rigidly at a wooden table. His face is hollow, eyes sunken deep from weeks of starvation. A Soviet officer stands across from him. The Sixth Army has surrendered. Outside, Red Army soldiers move cautiously through the ruins, rifles ready. They pass clusters of German prisoners, skeletal figures wrapped in tattered greatcoats, hands trembling, not from fear, but from hunger. Private Ivan Karpov watches them file past. Just weeks ago, these men had artillery, armor, air support. Now they look like ghosts. Karpov adjusts the strap of his rifle. He feels something unfamiliar in his body. Strength. Not abundance, not comfort, but enough. Enough to stand, enough to march, enough to fight again tomorrow. In a field kitchen behind the front, Sergeant Voronin opens another crate. Inside, more tins of meat, sacks of flour, condensed milk stamped with American markings. He no longer stares at them in disbelief. Now he calculates. How many men can this feed? How many days of advance? How many kilometers west? Because the war is shifting. In the months that follow, as the Red Army prepares for the Battle of Kursk, something remarkable happens behind the scenes. American Studebaker trucks roll off rail cars in staggering numbers. Over 400,000 trucks will eventually arrive through Lend Lease. Reliable, powerful, capable of hauling artillery, fuel, and men across muddy steppe roads where Soviet vehicles once broke down. General Georgy Zhukov understands logistics better than most. He knows that wars are not won by heroism alone. They are won by movement, by supply. Fuel from American refineries powers Soviet aircraft. Aluminum strengthens wings. High-octane aviation fuel boosts performance of Yak and La fighters. And food, millions of tons of it, fills stomachs. In Leningrad, the siege still strangles the city through 1943, but the road of life across Lake Ladoga continues to function. Trucks loaded with grain, sugar, canned goods, and flour make the crossing under artillery fire. Anya Petrova stands in line again, ration card clutched tightly. She is thinner now, taller. When her portion arrives, it includes something rare, a spoonful of condensed milk mixed into porridge. She tastes it slowly. Sweetness again. Not as shocking as the first chocolate, but steady, sustaining. Her mother whispers that the Germans are being pushed back, that one day the shelling will stop. For the first time, Anya believes her. Meanwhile, far to the west, Adolf Hitler rages in his headquarters at Rostenburg. Reports describe growing Soviet mobility, entire mechanized corps maneuvering faster than expected, counterattacks launched with surprising coordination. He attributes it to Bolshevik desperation. He does not fully grasp the scale of industrial power flowing from across the Atlantic. By late 1943, Soviet offensives grow more confident. Operation Bagration in 1944 will shatter Army Group Center. Soviet armies will advance hundreds of kilometers in weeks. Behind those offensives move trucks carrying ammunition. Behind those trucks move supply columns distributing rations, meat, flour, sugar. Food does not fire rifles, but it keeps hands steady enough to pull the trigger.
And in German POW camps, captured soldiers begin to notice something unsettling. Their guards are not starving. The Soviet soldiers overseeing them carry rations. They chew bread that is no longer stretched with sawdust. Occasionally, they unwrap chocolate. The psychological reversal is subtle but powerful. The Wehrmacht had expected the Soviet Union to collapse within months of Operation Barbarossa. Instead, by 1944, Soviet forces stand on the borders